way to look at it, looking at the root cause. Why do we get so much resistance?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I've been watching a lot of philosophy YouTube videos, and really getting to the source of why mankind makes the choices and the decisions that they make. And I think we've explored this over the last year, where in some cases it's part people don't like change, the other part people feel threatened, another part some people have just morally and mentally checked out, and they're oblivious to what's going on until it 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 it's raised to a level that you cannot ignore, and then they may look at it for a minute or two, and then it's back to business as usual. But interestingly, this morning, one of the YouTube videos that I watched uh, pretty much put it in the area of conformity, and it spoke about the people as a whole, how we all move in life. A certain percentage of people will do things, but 95% are just conformists. And it was interesting. It made a comparison against people who have courage and who don't have courage, but they said that's not it. It's not whether or not a person has courage or anything. It's a lot of people conform and just kind of business as usual. So when we see things as business as usual, then a lot of things slip through. Now this group right here, we're not business as usual. We're radicals. We're like, let's change everything. Let's be disruptors, if you will, and that keeps us alert. But I think a big percentage, and we'll throw it back over to Rich to begin the process here. I think a big percentage of folks just fall in line. They're just like, hey, I'm getting on board with the program. Rich, what do you think?
Sounds good to me. Thank you, Maurice. So, Pete.
I listened very intently to what Maurice has just said and his readings or whatever. I just have to say, conformity is not purpose. Conformity is like a group almost thing that we adhere as a group member. That's my understanding, a little bit of my understanding, but it's not purpose. It doesn't ignite that purpose-driven intent within an individual. And we at Reboot Seminar show you that your purpose will help drive you to whatever your intentions will be and provide that balance.
Thanks, Pete. And I just wrote in the chat that conformity is a mindless activity. And as we've discussed on numerous occasions, there's that conscious and that super subconscious mind. And we're always having this dialogue, this ongoing dialogue between the two. But again, as Rich mentions, the brain is lazy. It really wants to operate efficiently. And again, through all of these videos, there's that consistent message of how the mind works. And it has to work at its most efficient level ever. And usually that's when it's kind of like in the super brain. But again, if you got bad habits or behaviors, things that are stored up, then they just recycle themselves and keep going on and on and on. Rich, back over to you.
Okay, so let's get started today with a check-in. And of course, this is our weekly, kind of like a podcast, but it's more of a learning forum because we learn from one another and we really take life to the next level. And then Maurice can publish different ones at different times as he's creating the channel, the YouTube channel, and so forth. So we like to check in from 1 to 10. How are you basically navigating your life, good, bad, and the ugly, regardless of what's happened? How do you feel about doing it? And I am just going to check in at a 10 today because the sun is shining and I just have so much optimism for 2025. I have more optimism this year than I have in previous years with less effort on my part because I'm always striving and working to be optimistic, but I can just feel a new layer of optimism this year. So I'm checking in at a 10. Let's go over to John Lozano.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, as you guys were talking about the incidents in New Orleans and Vegas this morning, Yeah, on NPR radio this morning, one of the reporters was talking about the life of the person that was involved in the incident in New Orleans. And it sounded like a lot of his, I guess, business ventures started going south. And like his life was unraveling. Um, and I'll always remember a line from the movie Malcolm X with Denzel Washington. And there's a scene where, I think it's the scene where he first meets Elijah Muhammad. And Elijah Muhammad says, the most dangerous man in the world is the man who feels he has nothing to lose. And, as I was listening to the story, I thought, God, I wish I'd have bumped into this guy while his businesses were unraveling, because you could hear him almost lose his any sense of direction or purpose, to the point where, what do I got to lose? There's nothing left. And that's what we do. And, I'll just try and do it again next week. Hopefully I'll bump into somebody next week where I'm going to sense that and start talking to him about what would be meaningful to him. And it's just a thought I wanted to share. So as usual, no one's shooting at me. And I checked my bedroom door this morning. There is a doorknob on the inside of it, which means I am a 10.
Very good. Maurice.
Hey, John, I just wanted to say that thank you for those ideas. Maybe through the muster, we can, do some research and articles, and maybe one article could be something along the lines of why veterans should get connected when they get out and stay connected. What's the value of that? Being a Lone Ranger is not a good idea whatsoever, but
No.
who's giving them the advice, and where do they go?
Exactly.
I think we can make some concrete recommendations. Good morning, Rachel.
Good morning, everyone. Like you said, Rich, and I can see on John's face, the sun is definitely shining. And though it wasn't when I was out this morning for a walk, but that's okay. It was sunshine in my heart. And Happy New Year to everyone. 2025, I guess this is our first one of the year. And for me, I kind of just really promoting, peace, and with waking up to that story, New Year's Day was not the way I wanted to wake up to, for sure. But just really wishing everyone peace this year, and, as much as enjoy their hearts can hold. I'm going to say I'm a 9.8 today. I have to leave a little room to get up to that 10 by the time we're off the call.
Right. Very good.
You're getting there.
Yeah. I just want to let Ramon know, don't be alarmed if we're all 9s and 10s. We've been practicing this for years. We didn't start out at this level. We've successfully brainwashed ourselves to be optimistic and forward thinking and that sort of thing, even in the midst of adversity. Good morning, Keith.
Hey, good morning. Thanks everybody. I'm a 10. I mean, I got things going on, things I need to do. I know where to start. I know where I'm at, and so I'm pressing on with it. And I just want to add something to what John said. I like what John said, but I think in this one guy's case, he goes a step beyond. Sometimes it's not only that I have nothing to lose; it becomes, and who can I blame for it? Whose fault is it?
Yes.
And who can I?
Yes.
Damage on the way out. Who can I make a statement with?
Can I blame for it?
And so there's just so much to this. I don't know that we'll ever know all the answers. What takes place in a person's mind. I just think that what we're doing right here, intervention, is the big thing. And we sometimes we never know what we're intervening in. Simply that we're doing intervention. So
and we do believe we can intervene early in that process. We actually have experience with that and success stories. What's your number today, Keith?
Oh, I'm a 10.
Okay.
Without
Very
hesitation.
All right. Hey, Pete, have you checked in yet? You're on mute.
I think I will now.
Okay.
I'm a 10 plus and a 528. Always thankful.
Very good. Thank you, Charlie. I think
I'm a 10, and
Yep.
I agree with John. What we need is hope. any sliver of hope, no matter whether it's big or small. And yeah, I'm a 10.
And how are you feeling? Because you're the most positive guy I know that's nursing a broken femur.
Well, as I say, I claim a 10. And I'm going to go back to our teachings. The subconscious mind will say, okay, I'll help you keep going there. So I have to claim a 10 despite reality.
And we know that science has proven if you visualize being healed already, you will heal faster.
Right.
Proven by science. John.
I just wanted to make a clarification on behalf of my colleague, Charlie. Last week, we basically taught Charlie that he is, the way he can explain his situation is that he's currently on the long-term injured reserve list. Okay?
That's right.
So if he says that, people will understand. Now, Charlie, when you get down to 4 weeks, you got to let us know, because then we just put you on the regular injured reserve list. Okay? And then when you get down to any day now, you got to let us know, because we put you day to day.
Yeah.
Okay. And when you get to the point where you're almost there, let us know, because we got to put you down for game time decision. Thank you.
That's right.
There you go.
And his new goal is to be an NFL kicker.
That's it.
We're all behind that. All right. Let's see. Ron Stark. Hey, buddy.
Well, I'm here in my kitchen, and if you see me, I came home from Texas to a leaky sink. So my purpose was for today. I was wondering, so it's going to be fixing a leaky sink. You know, and that brings reality to the case. Sometimes our purpose is in the littler things and not the monumental things. It is really the little things that give life meaning. I heard it said from, you know, when you come back from engagements where it's life and death is in your hand, practically every decision you make on deployment, and you come back to little things, they're not life and death. They're not life and death monumental, and it's hard to go back to the mundane. And it's really the mundane that gives life the most meaning. The excitement is a roller coaster, and that's fun, but you get off the sink. And the fact that I have the capacity, the ability to face that sink with the confidence that I'm going to repair it, you know, that gives meaning. I was prepared for that. It didn't blow me out, though it could have. You know, I've seen people, oh no, it couldn't be worse. Well, you know, worse things than a leaky sink. But I will say, going into 2025, I think we need to exemplify that peace and calm, because leaders are in climate control. And if we set the tone for that, I mean, I had a mom call me about her Marine Corps son that's out of control, got out of the Marine Corps, won't go to his appointments, all on and on and on and on and on. And I'm like, Mom, let the boy grow up. You know, I want to kind of a cautionary tale is too many times in this business we infantilize people, and we need babies to take care of. And when we're taking care of babies, guess what we have? Babies. We need to start figuring ways to help people grow up a little bit. And I know with myself, you know, I rarely talk about my triggers, but one of my triggers is when people take a parental tone with me, you know, like they're parenting me, and I'm like, I'm not a little kid. Don't treat me like a little kid. And I think adult little kids don't want to be treated like little kids, but they've gotten used to it. And so I didn't hear from Ramon. So hello. My score today, I'm going to say in preparedness, I'm a 10. In the world, I'm a 10 dealing with a world of 6 and 7, because right now people are on edge. and I've got to bring the weather. And so leaders bring the weather. I'll leave it at that.
Very good. Thank you. Ramon, how about checking in if you're close to a microphone?
Yeah, I'm close to a microphone. It's interesting that the topics that you were discussing here. And Maurice and I have been talking a lot about this whole idea of how we're discovering ourselves. And I did myself was headed down to a downward spiral when I retired from the Marine Corps. But thankfully, what I discovered was something that I could get on board on a mission oriented purpose, and sort of transferring what I had learned and moving it in towards this mission of sort of humanitarian kind of service, and getting involved with education and training, and getting involved with development, workforce development. But what I'm learning is, though, I didn't realize the path that what I was been learning and actually having to dig through and really wrestle through, and coming out and realizing and looking back at the past, being able to face the past and then bring it to the present, and then form it to create a future with the hope, seeing the vision. And it's funny, Maurice, I'm telling you, it's everything is beginning to align. I love to read, and what I've concluded in my efforts, in my self-discovery of who I am, what's my purpose, is I've realized now that many of what I read is because of the authors who penned many of these literature masterpieces that allow the reader to be able to form opinions and build upon their thoughts, elevate thoughts, move their thoughts towards doing something that's good, being injected into what maybe Native Americans call as the Great Spirit, and going in and just moving in that direction, staying disciplined and doing what is good, and keeping that mind disciplined and doing what is good. And we're incorporating that into workforce development. So as far as for me and where I am, I feel like I'm there at that point where now I'm seeing all that all this life of where we're in time. I'm now looking at living a life where I know that it'll be a timeless life, learning to be ready to transition out, because this body, as we know, is not going to stay. It's not going to stay forever. It's not immortal. It's mortal. But what we are, and what I've learned from H.G. Wells, from The Invisible Man, we are invisible inside, and we have an opportunity to do what is right, to think what is right, and live off as we are invisible, but manifesting all this good, using this body as a tool. Just like the military, we use this body to go fight. Well, let's use this body to go do good. And we need to transfer these minds as they're transitioning out of the military. All that they learn, let's reform them and giving them purpose. And so I'm really excited now where the path we're going. Maurice, thanks for the invite. This really pretty much even confirms even more of the direction that we're going, Maurice. And everybody needs to be. I'm going to be honest with you. I've abandoned a lot of the formed opinions of religion that I had. I'm only down to two: believe God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. And you stay on those two, and you'll be right on.
Like Rich always says, keep it simple, make it real.
You just simplified thousands of years of complicating religion.
And if I could just say, Ramon is in a position, I believe, to not just shape itself, but shape the minds and futures of hundreds of youth across America, given the fact that he operates several Job Corps centers. And as you know, in the Job Corps centers, this is where the nation's disadvantaged youth, and now even veterans. And I'd love for Ramon to even speak about the veterans opportunity, but where they can go to rebuild their lives, find a future and move forward. And one of the things that he and I have been talking about is the opportunity to potentially get the reboot education somewhere in that learning cycle for these young kids to help them live a better lives. Yes, he's helping with careers, but it's more, as Rich and I and Keith talked about this morning, it's more than just careers. It's about how you live your life and living your life with purpose. Well, that's something people need to be taught. It doesn't come automatic. It's not standard. It's part of our hardwiring, but we have to be developed on that one. So, Ramon, can you maybe just share a little bit about that?
Yeah, thanks, Maurice. We are involved in, again, everything seems to be aligning to this purpose, and I could give you here some examples. We did not know, nor did we plan, that the person that is chair of the House of the Education and Training Workforce Committee is actually from Michigan, and the people that we met is his friends. So he's Congressman Tim Walberg, and he's going to meet with us so that we can sort of present to this person the landscape of where the changing landscape of education and how it's being delivered. Industries are changing that. So we're in that position to be part of leading how education and training is being delivered, how it should be delivered through the education system. The other part is the opportunity that we're in also includes that us being involved with DOD and helping those that are leaving San Diego, because there is 18,000 that leave San Diego on a yearly basis. And what we learn, 70% of those that leave are still at the age of 24 or less. So they're still young. So what we're looking to do is, with Maurice, is assess them as they're getting out, because they're not going to stay in San Diego. They're going to be leaving. So we want to assess them and then prescribe them with a train. But before we even go to assess them, we're going to have them already connected to employers. And Michigan is making themselves ready for a workforce to build themselves up to, again, to be that leader. As history has shown, Michigan has been the leader of industry. You got the three big automakers there. If you look at their history, that's been historically the leader. And so they want to get, and they're looking to also evolve in that direction to make it a home for these veterans to come and get a job and live nice. I didn't realize how beautiful Detroit was, how beautiful the landscape is. It's near the lake. I didn't realize that the shore is longer there than California shore when you put together. So we have multiple politicians, and we have people even with DOL that are all part of making this happen for us. And yeah, thanks, Maurice. We are part of leading how education training, and that's pretty much the stackable credential model. I know we all favor degrees, but that's sort of being dismantled and being integrated into the career tech stackable credential model. So if you start as a carpenter, we're going to lead you on the way to potentially maybe you could become an architect or a superintendent somewhere. So we are going to inject the college alongside of that pathway. So that's it in summary.
Absolutely. What number would you check in with?
What's that?
What number from 1 to 10 are you feeling?
I'm there. I'm already living a resurrected life.
All right.
I'm living a resurrected life. Now.
Yeah. So I'm going to give you a 10 plus. So, that's such a great summary. And, regardless if you're veteran or civilian, we have veterans on this call. We have civilians on this call that have been calling in, like myself. And, regardless of who you are and what your background is, good, bad, and the ugly, we all have one common denominator, and that is a hunger for purpose.
That's right.
And we work with that up front. Before you start anything else, if you can help someone align themselves with their purpose that's inside of them, not one we give them, that's inside of them, that creates the motivation for them to live that purpose. and you can change
Yes, sir.
overnight.
And that's why I just wanted to mention to everyone the role that Ramon has. You know, we all have a role, but he's been given the opportunity to shape young minds.
Mm.
And with the opportunities that he has, there's an opportunity for some of our younger veterans as they transition out to actually be enrolled in Job Corps. You
That's
know,
right.
again, you know, there's some scenarios where maybe a person hasn't found their purpose and don't really have it together. If they're within a certain qualification or even have a certain disability, they may qualify to live in Job Corps or be serviced by Job Corps to help them get back on their feet. And I just think it's a great opportunity. And I'm really, really pleased to work with Ramon on that. Thank you.
Excellent. Let's check in with Lee.
Hey, Happy New Year to all. Let's see, I'm checking in. I'm going to give myself a 9.75 today because literally I have my wind at my back as I start the 2025 new year, doing some biking out here on the trails of South Orange County, which I'd venture to say in most parts of the country this time of year, you couldn't do it without a defroster. So I'm really trying to enjoy the benefits of living in Southern California this time of year, and physically, mentally, and spiritually doing really well. I would like to share a reading that can help as far as you said, goals for the 2025. And we all know that, you know, by the beginning of February, most people quit their goals. There's a bestseller that it's curious to see. It's been out for about 10 years, but it always emerges at the top of the bestseller list at the beginning of the year. And it's called Atomic Habits by a guy named James Clear.
Atomic
and having been a
Habits.
fan of Atomic Habits. And so check it out. It's a pretty easy read. He describes about 4 simple principles to building lasting habits. And Rich, if we haven't had a goal setting discussion on the muster, you know, at the beginning of the year, it's a good time to have it. Maybe we draw from that book. But
Okay.
anyway, that's a super good book. I encourage people to look at. It's an easy read, and it's standing the test of time. But along with that theme, you know, set some new goals for 2025. Unfortunately, some of my old goals in 2024 I didn't complete, so those have carried over. Trying to bring in some new life to those goals, but doing well. So, like I said, 9.75 for me.
And Rachel's got her hand up. Rachel?
So just chiming in on Lee. Lee, I don't know if it was you or someone from this muster. I think it was actually a girlfriend of mine that recommended the book, Atomic Habits. So I was going to say, Rich, this is what started me doing a self-assessment report.
All right.
Week. So, you know, he gives you a little cheat sheet at the end. And for those that don't want to buy the book, I actually rented it from the library online. If you want an audio version, it comes in an audio version. So you can take a walk, read, you know, listen to it. So multiple ways to get the book. So good reminder, Lee. Thanks.
Right.
Pete.
Well, you know, speaking of habits, I was trying to listen to it on the plane, not Atomic Habits, but The Power of Habits, and how this one person completely changed their bad habits to good ones. And I didn't get the chance to listen to it all on the flight, but I think Rich might agree, The Power of Habits is also a blessing. Thank you, Rachel. That's a blessing. What can I say?
Yep, absolutely. That Power of Habit's a good one. Atomic Habits, good. Power of Habits, the one where I learned how lazy the brain wants to be. Okay.
We got
Let's
Dan.
see. Speaking of Atomic, Daniel.
Hope everybody's having a great day. Just let you know, just finished out my little life balance wheel. Thanks to Rich. I want to just give a big shout out to Rich. I did model it, building that out for goals in 2025 and beyond. I think the caption at the top, I've been doing a lot of reading through the Bible and praying as well too. I think you know, if I have kind of a caption for this one, it'd be actually I do have a passage as well too. I say, God, I pray for wisdom in 2025 and beyond. And where I got that inspiration was really just reading the Bible and understanding that God asked Solomon what he wanted most, and of all the things he could have, he decided on wisdom, and then all the other things, riches and kingdoms and other things like that, all came thereafter. And something that's really been in work for a while as well too. Just real quickly, I use Matthew 7:7. It's ask and it will be given to you, seek and you will find, knock and the door will be open to you. I can't tell you how many times I just go and actually pray about certain things to come about. And in God's impeccable timing, it does actually surface sometimes in amazing ways. So it could be big, it could be small, but he's always working for you behind the scenes. Just got to be patient with his follow through. So with that, I'm at a 10 plus because I got this baby. I'm rock and rolling and making 2025 and beyond super wonderful. And the last thing, I have a little gap on there. I know you probably have a hard time seeing that. I have one space left. And actually, it's inspired by really this team here. I got to say, actually, it's helping others. So I'm going to put that in as the 10th element to that life balance wheel. And thank you so much for really being a part of this team.
Excellent. Excellent, Daniel. There's a role model. He's got his life wheel for 2025 already, and it's only January 4th. Very good. Yogi just signed. Oh, Charlie has a comment, then Yogi.
Yeah, it sounds like the prayer of Jabez would align itself to everything that was said by Daniel.
That's right. Expand my territory. Yogi, good morning.
Good morning. I'm in Houston right now, so it's technically in the afternoon. I'm sending my best to you all. And I am right now out about a 5 physically, a lot of pain, but mentally and emotionally, I'm around about 9 or 10. So, let's call it a 9, just for sakes. And but really happy to be here and hearing you guys.
Good to see you. Very good. And I think that takes us to Maurice.
Yeah, I'll be brief. Since everyone's kind of quoting their favorite verses there, one that's standing out to me is Mark 9:23. And again, all things are possible if you believe. And so again, that's how I'm going to live this year, is focusing on the things that I believe. What do I want to see happen? What I want to accomplish, and just focus on that. It's sort of like you wake up every day with that in mind, and that's the first thought. And that's what just drives you. So that's where I'm at right now, is just believing in the vision, believing in things, and really making things happen. So the thing that I'm going to put out there in the universe is that 2025 is going to be a fantastic year.
Very good.
Back over to you.
All right. I think that takes care of everyone.
We got Pete's hand up, though.
Oh, Pete.
Did we get Lee?
We did.
Yes.
Okay.
And we are, can you see the screen well?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so we got that, and then Maurice was going to help out with the facilitation as I'm going through the charts. Thank you. I wanted to really.
Before you do, Ron's got his hand up.
Ron.
Yeah, 2024 was a great year. I look backwards. There were some phenomenal events and occurrences, and that made it an incredible year, which prepared. The last fight prepares you for the next fight. That's just pugilism 101. And there were some struggles and fights and wins and victories and some setbacks and some losses. But I'm reminded that in sports, there's a reason why I don't pitch for a professional baseball team, because I don't have an arm. But what I do find is that in baseball and other sports, every win is a win. Every success is success. And they don't count how many you didn't hit. They count how many you did hit. He batting 250, batting 275. And if you're consistently batting 275, you're an all-star batter. They count bases, sacrifices, RBIs, everything, and so counting all the successes really is the preparation, the mindset going forward. And in chapter 36 of Dirt Farmer Wisdom, think simple. Just think simple. I had a pastor friend says his saying was, if common sense makes the best sense, then all other sense is nonsense. And so just really thinking about the most rudimentary, Occam's razor, the least amount of variables is the answer. And then my verse for most of last year and going into this year is Romans 8:28. All things work together for good to them that love God, to them who are called according to his purpose. It's going to work for my good. All I got to do is love God and let him work it out for my good. And so I really do believe all things, I mean, the worst scenarios have brought some of the best lessons, the best strengths. I tell people, don't pray for strength because you're going to get troubles, because troubles build your strength. Don't pray for patience. You're going to get problems, and then this lady in chapter 36 says, thinking simple that can improve learning and enrichment. Looking for the clearest, most concise, uncomplicated, and effective choice available.
Very good. Thank you. Okay. I want to take a little different approach this year. As Lee said, yeah, we usually talk about goal setting and things like that at the beginning of the year, and the techniques and so forth.
Maurice and Rich both are talking, but Maurice's mic is muted.
Oh, Maurice, you're on mute.
Yes,
Maurice, you're on.
Does he have a technical difficulty, perhaps?
No.
Is he still talking?
Not talking, but looks puzzled.
Okay. Well, let's let him figure that out. We will move on as we're doing that. So, a lot of times we do take a look at goal setting that, and we are going to spend, a couple weeks this year doing that. But I thought maybe a little different way to look at it would be, what are some things you can do before you even do goal setting that'll prepare you to frame 2025? Because people have many different approaches to goal setting, or and how to do it and what it looks like, or even how not to do it. But I thought, what if you viewed it as an experience, 2025 as an experience that you're part of? And because I personally believe the best is always yet to come, because no matter how successful we are, or people say we are, we never really achieve our full potential. So I like to always say the best is yet to come, and we have different facets of our life that become important, different years, different times of the year where we may need to actually take a shift or a left or a right and actually improve in certain areas.
We got two hands. We got Keith, and then we have Charlie.
Okay.
Hey, real quick, Rich, while you were just doing the introduction, just adding to it, you said before goal setting. I think sometimes you just knowing your why. Why am I even goal setting? What's the, so
absolutely, very good. And my reflection question is, if you think of 2025 as an experience, how could that change your perspective? Anybody?
We got Charlie and then Lee.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with Keith. Why am I setting this goal? But before that, becoming the best you can be every single day.
Mm-hmm. Very good. Another
Lee?
comment?
Lee? And then Pete after Lee.
I would say that, Richard, taking us through probably one of the first steps you want to do before you start setting goals, and that's reflect. So having a reflective period of thoughtfulness on how 2024 went and lessons that you learned, and you want to either avoid or improve on in 2025 is super important. So I think, yeah, some solitude and reflection is a great place to start for goal setting.
Very good. And with that, you know, under the umbrella of an experience, I would like to experience 2025. I know there may be ups and downs, but I want to be along for the ride. I want to be driving when I can and riding sometimes and really appreciate, you know, everything that it could have, which is different than just saying, I'm going to have 3 or 5 goals and just do everything to achieve those goals. I want to actually experience it with all the senses and emotions inside and outside.
Pete and then Maurice.
I agree wholeheartedly with Charlie. Thank you, Charlie. Not only be the best that you can each day, but each day is also a gift from God. And not only do we want to honor our family and our friends, but also honor God. And I think if we look at each day as a gift and do the best that we can, God is going to provide the tools and the love, compassion that we need. He is our sustainer.
Very good.
And I'll just round it out by just adding that the whole concept of goals should be tied to your ideals, you know, which is really that higher self kind of thing. And, you know, defined by success, you know, what do you really want to, you know, like as Ron mentioned, hey, last year was a good year. It was a practice for this year. So what are you going to do better or different this year? And what does a successful 2025 look like? You know, is that picture already in your head? And, you know, the definition of success is a progressive realization of your working ideals. And so now it's really tied back into purpose, values, and belief. And it's really getting there. You know, the more we get into this, the more profound it becomes, because you tie that into your existence. It says every day that I wake up, I'm moving towards my ideals, the goals, the values. It is who I am. And so it's easy and it's natural, and I don't have to work hard to make this happen.
That's
Back
right.
to you, Rich.
That's right. And last week we actually got started by doing a last year review. And we said, let's reflect on what were our accomplishments for last year, including accomplishments, setbacks, lessons learned, and takeaways. And we really thought about that because we wanted to not just move forward with broad goals for the next year, but we wanted to reflect on the year before to see what we could learn from that. And we also talked about positive and negative experiences, looking through your calendar, look through every week of your calendar and maybe highlight what were the negative experiences, what were the positive experiences. We want to move more of the positive experiences forward, and the negative experiences, we want to eliminate those where we can and actually make a not to-do list for those things that created negative experiences.
Ron's got his hand up.
Yeah, So last month was the end of 2024. And January 1 was a new day. It was really more a new day than a new year. So to plan so that January 1, 2026 is the next day in a series of days might be a healthier way to look at it than a whole year. And one of the things that because I had to make a year-end report for my work of these very kinds of things. They sent us the form late in November to record a year. And one of my suggestions was present the form to us in a month, like at the beginning of the year, maybe February, to start banking that up. So at the end of the year, we're really only reporting a few days. We have a record of the year, but we really are only looking at a few days and then a series of day by day by day. Because if we live, I have not been able to live my life a year at a time.
Exactly.
I never have been able to live my life a year at a time. Every now and then the water pipe breaks. You know, I have to live my life because I know there are going to be problems, but problems really are more of an experience than they are a problem. It just really is. And normalizing that. Wow, I didn't know. I didn't know that I was going to get this challenge, and now reproaching it with all of the successes in the past that have gotten me through. They're in HR. One of the interviewing skills is called ears. Give me an example of a time when you did this particular thing. Give me and then tell me what actions you took to prepare for that. What was the results? And then what did other people say about the successes?
That's
and look
right.
back at preparing for tomorrow based on the preparation that led to today.
That's right. And some people, if you look at it in terms of experience, that's fluid and it's dynamic. Some people view goal setting as being rigid and limiting, and you can have different aspects on that. So let's go ahead and move forward with a few simple prerequisites to improve your 2025 experience before goal setting. So Lee already had the first one. The first one is commit to practicing the skill of self-reflection and mindfulness. And this introspective process can help you connect with yourself to find out and really remind you what's really important to you so you can navigate the future with purpose and intentionality. So reviewing and refreshing your vision and values for what is most important to you will help with that. So basically you ask yourself, what went well and what can I improve upon? And do I need to refresh my values and my vision, kind of thing?
We got a couple of hands. We got Ron up, hand up, and we got
Yep.
Charlie. Ron, you're on mute.
That was an old hand. I had a birthday in December.
All right, then over to Charlie.
Yeah, I remember what Rich's grandson Christian said, and that helps me, is be thankful for all you have and be grateful for what you have.
Very good. Yeah. And if you practice reflection and mindfulness just 5 minutes a day, it can really change your life for the better. It's taking the time to step back and take a look at really where you've been, where you are, and where you're going. It could be last year to next year. It could be yesterday to today. It could be 5 minutes ago to 5 minutes in the future. But some of the reasons self-reflection is important to help us move towards goal setting in the new year. It helps us understand personal growth by reflecting on our achievements and challenges and celebrating the successes. Helps us identify lessons learned by extracting insights from positive and negative experiences as valuable lessons. Aligning values and priorities by reassessing our values and priorities to ensure our goals are aligned with our sense of purpose. Avoiding repetition of mistakes. So you think about your setbacks and your lessons learned so you can avoid similar pitfalls. Then building a foundation for the goal setting by using reflection as a baseline to where you can now set realistic and inspiring goals and that sort of thing.
So we got a hand up there. Ron? You're on mute, Ron.
Yeah, I also understanding fundamentals is very important. Adam Grant was a collegiate highboard springboard diver. Very hard, very hard. And then he was talking to a triathlete about, he didn't understand. He said being a triathlete is very hard. He said being a springboard diver is really easy. You only have about 9 fundamentals you have to maintain in order to, and if you practice those 9 fundamentals all along. And then the triathlete was talking about how easy it is to run a triathlon. It's really not that complicated. And we need to understand how simple things are to people who can do it and how extremely impossible they are to other people who have not done it. Because you'll say, oh, it's easy. And the other person is like, I couldn't imagine myself doing that. But you might be able, you might be able to imagine yourself running 5 minutes. And then you might be able to after that, you could imagine running 10 minutes. Or you could imagine doing just the approach. I mean, the walk to the board is part of the fundamental, my approach, how I strut, how I prance up to, I mean, all of those things are little fundamentals that you practice each one. And then it's not practice makes perfect. It's perfect practice makes perfect.
Very good. Okay. Thank you, Ron. The second thing, which is really interesting, and I got this from the Berlin School of Business and Innovation in Germany. And the second one was declutter and organize. So these are prerequisites before you get down to the dirty goal setting, right? So a cluttered and disorganized environment can contribute to feelings of stress and overwhelm. Use the transition to the new year as an opportunity to declutter your physical and mental spaces. And some reasons for, self-reflection is important and can guide us in the goal for the new year. So decluttering and organizing can help improve our self-reflection. And they talk about donate or discard items you no longer need, organize your living and working space, create systems to streamline your daily routines. Decluttering can have a profound impact on your mental well-being, making room for new opportunities and fostering a sense of clarity and focus for the year. And I know we had some really organized people on this call, so I just wanted to brainstorm suggestions or advice for decluttering and organizing physical or emotional spaces.
Well, when you say super organized people, Rachel, you're up.
Rachel right up front. Go ahead, Rachel.
What are some things we could do, Rachel?
Well, one thing you can do is, I left my book, unfortunately, in the other room, but I did, like you said, went through that exercise of reflecting. But the one thing you can do is, people write things on their calendar all the time. I tell people this, but you got to look at it. Write it down, look at it, right? And if you think, okay, I got a little bit too much in here, let's be realistic. Can I really get this done? And if you can't, move it to another day and time, but you need to prioritize it. So not only, write it down, but prioritize it. And don't do it out of, guilt. Just, like I said, work on it to your preference, what you really need to get done. Because at the end of the day, to me, that makes me feel better when I can look at my calendar and say, okay, I've accomplished these things.
So you got Ron, you got Keith and then Ron.
Yeah. So one of the things I think about organization is first, there's a mentality with some people having is hoarding. And hoarding is kind of like, but I need this, or this has a sentimental value, or for whatever reason, I just can't seem to get rid of it. And we just got to get over that hoarding mentality. Don't hoard things. Just, see them for what they are, how relevant they are for today, and maybe even for the future. Then move on from there. Thank you.
Ron?
So my hoarding and clutter and junkyard are resources. So for the next project, a PhD is piled higher and deeper. So I do, though I like the not clutter, the clutter for me reminds me of the chaos of everything, and how to ignore chaos. Chaos can be a real brain drain. And for Rachel and her calendaring, I would recommend, and I do, is calendar the steps for the things before the deadline and schedule the deadline the day before. That this is the day that I'm doing the final preparation. So I do live by my calendar. I encourage my staff to, but calendar the preparation phases. And
So
then,
So we got we run out of time here. Sorry to cut you off there, Ron. But we have Yogi and then Lee, but we only have like 2 minutes left. So Yogi, make it quick, and Lee, make it quick.
I would say that the most important thing to be able to prevent clutter is to limit the input of what we have. For example, inboxes, right? We get a lot of junk mail, and then it's very hard to clean out junk if we're adding more junk, and the same thing with the hoarding, right? If we add more junk into our lives, it's harder to keep anything organized and be able to keep it calendar free and clear. So
awesome. Thank you. Lee.
Yeah, I would say quickly that first off, Rich, I really like this one. I hadn't really thought about this being a prerequisite for goal setting, but it makes a lot of sense. So I'm going to try to practice it. But applying some principles we used at Boeing when I ran the lean office called 5S. And it's been so long ago, I can't remember all 5, but it starts with sort and simplifying. Then you standardize and sustain it. So it's a good way to declutter and organize the workplace, including at home.
And as usual, Rich, another really good topic, and we've run out of time there. So why don't you go ahead and close us out, and we'll kick this back in again next week. I got a lot of things that I want to add, but we're out of time.
Absolutely, and we're gonna wrap that up. We were gonna have Keith come in and talk about commitment next week. Keith, I'm gonna ask you, could we put that off for 2 weeks from now?
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
I think when we get to this and then touch on some of the goal setting, commitment will fall right in line. So very good. So thank you everybody for this. Hopefully you enjoy the perspective of what can help you before you get into the nitty gritty of goal setting. So have a blessed weekend and a blessed week, and come on back next week.
Great topic. Thank you, Rich.
You
Thank you,
got it.
everybody. Have a great weekend.
Bye-bye.
Have a great week.